630 WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL. Good Wednesday morning to you in D.C. Brian Neiman, Tory Clark in this morning, former Pentagon spokeswoman, of course. And we are joined by Tory's old boss, Donald Rumsfeld, former Secretary of State. Guys can say hi to each other.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Brian and Tory. How are you?
I'm just so sorely tempted to ask you all those things I've wanted to ask you for years. They have nothing to do with the topic at hand, but it'd be so much fun. But I won't.
I do want to ask you first, Mr. Rumsfeld. You spent a lot of time, a lot of investment, to use a Washington term, in finding Osama bin Laden. How did you feel personally when you got the news that he was found and killed?
Well, it's just wonderful news for the country and indeed for the free world, for people who oppose terrorism. He was the face of Al-Qaeda, and he's now off the face of the earth, and that's a good thing.
Do you think it is more, is he more of a figurehead than he is an actual strategic victory, or is it more than symbolic?
No, it's more than symbolic. There's no question, but that he has been important throughout the life of Al-Qaeda as a fundraiser, as a recruiter, and undoubtedly as an organizer and planner.
So can you clear up, I know there's been a little bit of back and forth in the media on what you said, what you meant about waterboarding recently and its role in finding Osama bin Laden. Clear up for us where you think waterboarding, did it have any role in getting bin Laden or its importance in finding him?
Well, some outlet took something I said and drew an inaccurate conclusion from it. What I said to them was that the military at Guantanamo did not do any waterboarding, and that there were 3 people waterboarded by the Central Intelligence Agency. Now, in answer to your question, there's no doubt in my mind, but that George Tenet and General Hayden, both of whom were CIA directors, are absolutely correct that waterboarding, that is to say, the enhanced interrogation techniques used by the CIA, were enormously important and produced a substantial fraction of all of the information we gained on Al-Qaeda. So they are important, and very recently, within the last day or two, I saw on television what sounded to me like Leon Panetta, the current director of CIA, saying that some information that led to the eventual capture and killing of Osama bin Laden in fact came from enhanced interrogation techniques, one of the 3 people who was waterboarded.
Right. I want to pick up on that because I think a lot of people hear enhanced interrogation techniques and they think right away of waterboarding. But there are other things that go on that would be under the realm of enhanced interrogation techniques that are not waterboarding, correct?
Well, I suspect that that's true, and I was not connected with the CIA, and I don't know all the details. I do know that what the CIA program was approved by the Department of Justice, and in addition, it was authorized by the President of the United States, and it was highly productive.
So, sir, fast forward to the other day, and the SEAL team not only gets bin Laden, which is a good thing, but they evidently pull out a lot of stuff from his very nice house, including these computers and all sorts of things. What would you hope they would find off those hard drives? What kinds of information would you be looking for to looking ahead? You know, you want to get more Al-Qaeda leaders, crack down on these guys more. What would you want out of that information they've pulled out of the house?
You know, when I started looking at the paper this morning and listening to the television about the intel take from the compound where they killed Osama bin Laden, I thought to myself, why in the world would they be talking about that? It ought not to be talked about. There ought to be, just go about their business, gather any intel you can, and leave in doubt the people out there who will feel vulnerable as a result of this. Instead of hyping the intel take, because I would have handled it so differently, I'm very reluctant to even talk about it.
Gotcha.
Okay, but I mean, in fairness, when Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was captured, the word treasure trove of information, I mean, that was out there as well in 2003.
I don't know that.
Well, it wasn't the media. Let me ask you this: are you surprised? Apparently, there were other people in this compound where bin Laden was found. Are you surprised that we didn't take anybody with us? Just took computers and not actual people that were there?
I don't know the circumstances. If you think about it, these folks had a very limited amount of time that they could be on the ground before they would run the risk of conflicting with some Pakistani activity. They had, I suppose, if in their decision making, if they'd seen somebody who they thought might have been valuable, they might very well have taken them. On the other hand, the current interrogation policies of the administration, the Obama administration, are such that it's the Army Field Manual, and it's unclear to me whether even bringing somebody out would have enabled them to get much additional information given their interrogation policies.
Yeah, I keep reading conflicting reports that some of these people who were in the house are now with the Pakistani intelligence service, that maybe the SEAL team took some people with them that were alive, so I'm not really sure what ground truth is, but can you put your information operations hat on for a second? And how would you, we've seen a fair amount in the last couple of days where they're trying to get the word out that Osama bin Laden was leading this very nice life in this nice house with expensive food and maybe video games for the kids and things like that. In the information operations realm, how hard would you work to make sure other al-Qaeda leaders or Osama bin Laden followers knew about that?
Knew about the fact that he wasn't out there strapping bombs on his body and blowing himself up in marketplaces to kill people?
Exactly, and not living in a cave in this austere fashion that you would have thought, that he wanted people to think.
Yeah, I think that has been a pattern with the Al-Qaeda leadership, that they, in many cases, have had a quite different lifestyle than the one they were urging on the young people they were training in the madrasas to go out and kill in innocent people in marketplaces, and they've fostered an impression of being military leaders and austere in their lifestyle, when in fact they undoubtedly have not been.
Now, what about Pakistan? Is there any doubt in your mind that Pakistani intelligence or someone within the Pakistani government knew bin Laden was in that house? And what about the relation moving forward with Pakistan and their intelligence agencies specifically?
Well, we have had an off-again, on-again relationship with Pakistan for several decades, and it's been to our detriment. Every time something happens that somebody doesn't like, we say, oh, we should sever relations, or we should sever military relations. And then you end up with another generation of Pakistani military growing up and having no connection with the U.S. military, which is ultimately harmful to our country. Now, your question was, is it possible that somebody in the Pakistani government or the intelligence services had some awareness of where Obama lived? I don't know the answer to that, but it would not surprise me, because there have always been some people in the Pakistani intel services who have not been pro-U.S., who have been pro-Taliban, and in some cases even pro-Al-Qaeda. Now, that was not true with Musharraf. They tried to kill him 3 or 4 times.
Right.
And I think Pakistan's an important country. They've been an important ally, and it's critically important that we not rush to judgment and decide that, oh my goodness, he was there in a compound, that somebody should have known something. You can hide in plain sight in the United States of America. There could be a terrorist leader right now on the other side of the Potomac River in one of those great big fancy houses along the Potomac, and everyone, once he's discovered, everyone's saying, oh my goodness, we must have known about it.
Right. Well, Mr. Rumsfeld, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for going on the program. We appreciate it very much.
Take care, sir.
Good to talk to you.
Donald Rumsfeld, Secretary of Defense. I said Secretary of State when I introduced him. I've been trying so hard not to do the Obama-Osama thing, and I got Secretary of State Rumsfeld.